Listen, I used to call myself a perfectionist. I used to also justify why I couldn't work towards the goals that I wanted, telling myself it's really not that important. And they were. What I call this, and probably what you're struggling with, is the fear of being seen. When we internalize the fear of being seen, we internalize that we are going to be judged, misunderstood, abandoned, or rejected if we take the chance and the leap to do what we really want to do. In today's video, I am going to break down a super simple 3-step way to overcome the fear of being seen that I actually share with all of my members inside of Woman Mastery HQ membership. Anytime that the fear of being seen, being perceived, being visible comes up for you in business, career, life, I want you to come back to this video. But before we get into this video, if you love the topic that I am currently speaking about, I would absolutely love it if you hit the subscribe button and you hit the thumbs up. Not only does it really support my channel, but I know that you love this topic and I'm going to make more videos about it. And if you keep coming back for more and you are not yet subscribed, then hit that subscribe button. Let's break down the 3-step process that I want you to use anytime the fear of being seen comes up. Maybe you want to post content, but you keep justifying why it's not perfect enough. Maybe you want to start a business and leave your job, but you keep putting back the time that you were going to quit your job. Maybe every time that you are having a conversation with your friends or your family, you hold back what you really think. You hold back your perspectives, you hold back what you really want to say. Or maybe no matter how much you are doing the self-concept, the mindset work, the subconscious work, you always feel like you're keeping yourself small and you're never actually reaching your true potential. All of these examples I have been through. And so what I'm going to share with you is a process that, yes, not only do I share with my members in my membership, but I do constantly. What I have learned over the years is it doesn't matter what you achieve or what your perceived success is. The fear of being seen is always going to come up. New levels, new devils. And so this is the exact method that I want you to use whenever it comes up for you, wherever you are at in your life, your business, your career. Step number 1 is to understand the fear and how it translates into a belief. So if we're taking the fear of being seen, understand what belief system has been created from that fear. What do you truly believe? Do you truly believe at your core that if you post, you are going to be rejected? If you post, you are going to be laughed at and made fun of? Or maybe you have a belief that if you really share your opinions and your perspectives on life, you are actually going to be rejected by your group of friends. The trick here is to actually get in your body, get quiet, and actually think verbatim, what are the beliefs, the thought loops, the language that you are using when it comes to doing something that means you are going to be seen, visible, or perceived. And of course, in life, this can mean many, many different things. Now, this first step, I want you to take your time. And over time, you will notice different things coming up. To take one belief that is very, very strong for you, that you keep thinking probably every single day. The second step is to take that belief and understand what identity it is creating. So what concept of self, the way that you perceive yourself, is it actually creating? How do you see yourself every single time that you think that belief that is stemming from your fear of being seen? So if you have a fear of being seen and you believe that if I post for my business and sell, I am going to be judged, then what identity has that created for you? I want you to look at the decisions you make, the behaviors, the patterns, and overall how you are living your life because of that belief which has stemmed from the fear of being seen. This will allow you to not only understand the belief pattern, but to also understand the behavior that comes from believing that subconsciously. This is why sayings like fake it till you make it don't necessarily work, because unless you understand the belief and understand how you're behaving, it's not as simple as just trying to push through or just trying to be someone different. Your fears are very subconscious, but they dictate 95% of your behaviors which then, of course, creates the reality that you are now experiencing. So from that belief, get very honest. What are your behaviors? How do you make decisions? How do you show up in everyday life because of the belief that you have internalized? Now, of course, we want to do this for all our beliefs, but to keep it simple today, focus on one as I'm workshopping this with you. Now, this isn't about writing down what type of identity or concept of self that you want to have just yet. It's about understanding who you are right now. What are the facts? If a camera was watching you throughout the day, what would the camera actually pick up? That's what I want you to write down. Now, from there, we go to the third step, which is understanding our nervous system's capacity. The way that I look at nervous system capacity isn't your ability to be peaceful and calm all of the time. It's actually your ability to tolerate change, which is dysregulation. Most people believe that when we are changing who we are, that it's a peaceful thing that feels calm, that's all rainbow and butterflies, but it's not. Change is dysregulating to our nervous system because it's not familiar. Our body, our nervous system is wired to stay in the familiar. It's wired to predict exactly what is happening. This is why your behaviors, your thoughts, your patterns are all unconscious. Because once we internalize those things as normal and as our baseline, we just do. We operate unconsciously because it's habit, because it's our baseline, because we have internalized it as our capacity, as something we can now tolerate, which of course the result of that is getting the exact same result over and over and over again and attracting the exact same situations in life. So breaking down your nervous system capacity or your tolerance, the analogy that I give my members inside Woman Mastery HQ membership is to look at your nervous system like a balloon. So if you had a balloon and you start blowing it up, you get to a point where it's about to pop. And so you stop blowing it up, you tie it up and you throw it away. That is your nervous system. Every time you go to expand your capacity for change, for something different in your life, you get to this point where it feels uncomfortable. That is exactly where we start self-sabotaging, and it comes back to because we have a fear of being seen that is creating those normalized belief systems, which has created the way that we perceive ourselves. Do you see how it all becomes a loop? So your job now is to actually understand what is your capacity when it comes to your concept of self, which has been generated from that belief of I'm scared to be judged by my friends and family. So if we go back to the original fear of I have a fear of posting and selling online for my online business, maybe your capacity is you only post once a week. You don't actually sell on your stories, and maybe you've had an offer that you've wanted to launch for the past 3 months, but you've kept it in your drafts and you keep telling yourself it's not perfect yet. That's breaking it down super simply, but the easiest way is to look at the results that you currently have in life. When you look at the results that you have in life, that is your current capacity. Your job now is to build your tolerance for something different. So that becomes your baseline. This is now when we reverse engineer these 3 steps. So we've written down what our capacity is in regards to the identity and the belief system. And now it's up to us to look, how can I stretch that capacity? For example, if I'm only posting once a week, but I know my goal is to make $30,000 months, what am I going to do to stretch myself? So instead of posting once a week, maybe you up it to 3 times, and then eventually 5, 6, 7. When it comes to launching that offer that you've kept in your drafts for the past 3 months, maybe it's time just to launch it and stop using the excuse, it needs to be perfect. From there, we reverse engineer, well, what would that concept of self, my identity, actually look like if I was doing these things? How would I feel? What would my decisions be? What would my behaviors be? What would my motives be? When we understand that and we take our time, we don't rush, we get very, very niche, we then create, well, what is the belief that I want to believe? Once we determine the belief that we want to have, we can understand that, yes, I have a fear of being seen, but here's what I want to believe. This is the identity that I actually want to embody, and these are what the tangible behaviors and patterns and decisions I'm going to make, and this is what it's going to look like for me to stretch my capacity. I recommend that you go through this process every single week when it comes to your fear of being seen, so you can actually see whether or not you are stretching your capacity, you are changing the way you see yourself, and if you're training your belief system to believe something differently. Anytime we internalize a fear and we keep playing the same behaviors and patterns, it normally benefits us in some way, shape, or form. So if we look at the fear of being seen, and the belief with that is, I don't want to be judged by my friends and family, maybe a way that it benefits you is that you get to feel connected to your friends and your family with how you are and who you are right now. And so your brain determines that as a payoff versus doing something differently, potentially being judged and not feeling as connected to your friends and family. I guarantee if you did this process every single week for the next 12 weeks, you would notice a substantial difference in the way that you perceive yourself, but also in dissolving your fear of being perceived, being seen, being visible. This is not only the process that I repeatedly do, but what I share with all of my clients. And if you are ready for not only the support, the accountability, but the entire subconscious mastery framework that I give all of my members inside my membership, I highly recommend you join Woman Mastery HQ membership. The first link in the description is where you can learn more, but this is exactly where we dissolve fear of being seen, fear of being visible, but also fear of failure, fear of success, fear of not being enough. And if you enjoyed learning about this process, I highly recommend clicking over to this video where I break down exactly how you are self-sabotaging and what to do about it. Because anytime that we internalize a fear, we are going to self-sabotage. I will see you in the next video.